Hey everyone, this is Kaylee with Needle Felted Fuzzies, and I wanted to go over a few of the projects that I have worked on recently or am currently working on, just to show everyone what is going on and what's available, and maybe you could even meet some new friends. Alright, so the newest piece out of all my collection is this adorable octopus. So he has a cute little face and a sailor hat, and he's pretty big for what I've been making recently. Took me about 6 hours to make this adorable little guy, and yeah, he's 100% wool. There's no armature or anything in here, so each leg had to be done independently, and then I attached everything afterwards, and then I added the face and everything. So I thought he was pretty cute. Before this, I made a couple of things that are actually already sold and given to the new owners, so those are all gone, but you can see every piece that I do, unless it's like a private thing for some reason, which I've never done yet, but I have done a bunch of different things, and everything I do I put on Instagram, so follow me over there at same thing here, Needle Felted Fuzzies. Fennec Fox was one of my more recent adorable bigger pieces that I've done, and you can see a cute little tail. And what you see behind me, actually in all these little bins, that's how these guys start out. So on the very end here is core wool, and that's what I use to make the shapes, and then I use the different colors, like this one here, to make the outer layer of the cute, adorable little fennec fox in this example. Now this color, all the white you see here, is actually white batting. So it's not the core wool. The core wool is unbleached, so it's almost like a cream colored, and it's not as coarse, and it's also not as clean. So the core wool is the cheapest that you get, and that's why we use it inside the pieces. And then the batting is what I use most of the time to get these finishes. And then sometimes, of course I don't have any out here, I do use roving once in a while to usually make some hair or different things. I used batting for my little unicorn to make the hair, but you kind of see the longer strands. When you get into the colored wools, you could do a lot of stuff with this. So I use the batting, but you can use roving to add hair, and it wouldn't be as fluffy, but it would look more like hair. So this little unicorn was a set of 3 that I did. 2 of them have sold. 2 of them are gone to their new owners, and this is the 3rd little guy. I was trying a different pose. The other 2 are sitting up. This one's kind of laying out, or flying maybe. He's pretty adorable, or she, I don't know. Let's see here. And then I also have done lots of different styles. I've been felting for about 3 years, almost. I think I'm in my 4th year now of like steady felting. I have felted before, and in fact, the first time I ever needle felted was in college for a puppetry class as part of my acting minor. And we did 8 different puppets throughout the 16-week semester. The, I think, 6th or 7th one we did was needle felted. And that's what got me started. If I could find that first one, I'll be sure to share it. Next up, we have this adorable little bunny. You can see a more cartoonish face. He's holding the carrot, so I get into a little bit of character work here. And then, ooh, one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites, and I actually had to redo this because my dogs got it, was this little guy. So trigger alert, I guess, if you're arachnophobe. It's a gigantic pink-toed tarantula, and he actually has glass eyes. I don't usually use the glass eyes, but something like this where it's black on black and tiny little beady eyes on something like this, I'll use the glass eyes. So he's 100% wool with a pipe cleaner armature and glass eyes. And so all of these legs are posable, which makes it super interactive and really cool, and I love to show him off. There you go. The little pincers. Alright, let's see. Next up is a set. I just did this not too long ago for Easter. It's now May when I'm shooting this, so not too long ago. I made Easter peeps. 3 different colors. I have this is a bigger set, and I have a smaller set, And I actually made these into kits. So the kits are, you're able to buy them and make them yourself. And I have videos of all of the things that I make kits out of on my website, needlefeltedfuzzies.com. And I'm also going to be adding them all to this YouTube channel. Speaking of kits, I also have this adorable little rooster or chicken set. So these are 2 different chickens, 2 different hens, and I show you how to make these, and you get enough wool for 2 of these in the kit. Available currently on Etsy. You can find the links on my website, or if you go to etsy.com and search for Needle Felted Fuzzies, all one word. That's how you find the kit to make these guys. And if for some reason you can't find it and you like it, reach out to me personally and I will be able to get you that kit. I could put them together still. I also have a dragonfly on a lily pad kit. So I've already done this class live a couple of times. Got a cute little smile. And it went really well. People were begging me for dragonflies, so I finally was able to figure out something not super simple to do. So I made the dragonfly plus the lily pad, and now you can hang these guys up, you can put it on a shelf, you can decorate whatever you want with them. They're just fun little critters. My biggest seller, and the thing that kind of got me started, was what I call the fox tattoo. And this is what these guys look like. Fox tattoos are palm size, so you're supposed to hold them in your palm. And you could give them a squeeze because they're 100% wool, they're a little squishy. And if you or someone you know is going through something, you can give them a fox tattoo, and they can hold it and know that someone is thinking of them and believes in them, and you can do the thing. So a few years ago, probably like 2009 or so, there was a meme that was going around the internet, and it was a tiny little fox tattoo, and it said, "I'm a tiny little fox tattoo and I believe in you, you could do the thing." So one of the first projects that I made was a tiny little fox tattoo, and I gave it, they didn't look like this at the time. I was still learning how to do these things. So they were smaller and not as dense and not as cute, but I did give them out to a few of my friends. At the time I was in a trivia league, I guess you could call it. I had a trivia team. There were 5 or 6 other people on my team, and I gave them each one for Christmas. And then a couple of coworkers I gave them to, and once they said, "Wow, yeah, that really helped me get through the weekend, my medical procedure, or running an event, or whatever," they kept it close, and now they keep it on their desk at work. I've heard all kinds of stories, which make me so happy. So it's so great that the little fox tattoos are able to bring so much happiness and courage and encouragement to people. And now that we're going through currently we're hopefully heading towards the upswing of COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, I have made fox tattoos with masks, which are still currently available on my Etsy shop. I got a couple of these left. So you can find all kinds of fox tattoos. I also make pink ones. You can specify a color if you have a specific color that you want to have made. Pink for breast cancer awareness in October. I actually have a black one with fangs, and that's for Halloween. So I have all different kinds of things going on. There's also some mixed media pieces that I have done, and I don't usually do mixed media pieces, but I had this yarn and I was like, what am I going to do with it? You can actually needle felt yarn to wool. So there's no glue or anything on here at all. It's this part here on this jellyfish is 100% wool. And then I just needle felted the yarn into it. And then I just covered over where those connections were with some more wool. So it's nice and seamless. And now I have this cute little jellyfish that I can either use as like a puppet, or I can hang him up from in a wall. I was thinking about making a couple more and then doing like a set across the room. And then I got a little sidetracked because I thought of something else I could do without yarn, and that was to make a Yip Yip alien from Sesame Street. You can remember those guys. And when they got scared, they went boom. So I got a little obsessed with that. And if you can't tell, I do have an infant now, and that's so all this old stuff is coming back to me. Sesame Street and puppets and stuff. So you'll probably be seeing a few more things like this from me in the near term. So isn't that adorable? This is one of the biggest pieces I've ever made in total, but it is not as much wool as you'd think, because this whole thing is empty, it's hollow, and these are pipe cleaners. These are not ping pong balls like on the actual Yip Yip Aliens. These are 100% wool. The only thing that's not wool on here, I'm not sure exactly what fibers make up the yarn, but the pipe cleaners are definitely not wool, but the ends are. It's the same wool as this. So that is that. And I've got a few more minutes. I wanted to just quickly go over a few more things, although I did just find a donut that I needle felted, and I do have kits for these available as well too on Etsy. So you can make a little needle felted donut with me. And now I can go on to the tools that you need. So needle felting is a craft that is, I kind of think of it as a mix between clay sculpting and a needlework, like a crochet or something, because you do use a needle, but it is a specialized needle, and it has, this is the top of the needle where you hold on to it, it's L-shaped, and then this side of the needle is barbed. This is where it actually pokes into the wool, and each one of these little tiny cuts hooks the wool together, and it hooks them together so that when you stab it, the fibers interconnect, and that's what makes the wool go from really fluffy to dense and into a shape. So the different needles, there are a bunch of different needles, and these, most of the time I use 36 gauge triangle needles. And the shape triangle means that the needle point here is actually triangular shaped, so it's got 3 sides. And the 36 gauge is how thick that needle is, and it's very tiny. I don't know if you can see it at all, but you can kind of see where those little marks are. That is where all the little cuts are into the corners where the sides of the triangle meet. The other things that you need, besides the wool, is a pad. I have this little foam pad here, and that way when you are sticking the piece with your needle, you need it to go into the wool. This is the working part of the needle. You need at least that much to go in. So if you're working on something really thin, like this, if you were to just stab in and it would hit the table, it wouldn't really be able to felt that much. So with the foam pad, you can stick all the way through and it would go into the pad instead of hitting the table and stopping. So I've got a whole bunch of needles. This is what I carry on with me to my classes and how I store them. And then I have a couple on my pad always, in the corner of my pad, so I stick it when I'm using them. Then you have your wool, and that's pretty much all you need. Other things you can use, of course, are the armature wire, which, again, are just pipe cleaners, or you can use wire, like floral wire, or there's different gauge wires out there. Serafina Fiber Arts is a good one to get all your supplies, including the wool and everything you need. And she also has some really great videos. That's how I learned how to make, actually this raccoon was one of her kits, and I love it. He's got an armature, and I learned how to do the teeny tiny little toes from her. In my area, I'm in Connecticut, there are not a whole bunch of wool providers here that I could find, but there are some in New England that I like to buy from, and some a little bit further than that. A lot of people ask me where I get my wool, so I don't mind giving a big shout out to Purple Moose. She's up in, I believe she's in Maine. I might be getting that wrong because there's also Felted Sky that I use. It depends on what I'm looking for, what colors, what textures I'm looking for. There's a few that I use. If you're interested in a specific kind of wool or how to use it, check out my website. I do have what I call a learning center. And that is basically a whole bunch of blogs and videos and different things that I've compiled that go over like the different kinds of needles or the different kinds of wool, the batting, the roving, the core wool, and and everything else that I've used. I have videos up there about how I make certain things, and anything you want to learn, really. The history of needle felting, how it got started, how these needles are the same ones they use in the industrial use of these, where they take the machine and hook the needles into the machine, and the whole thing comes down and hits the wool, and that's how you get those felt strips, the big pads of wool that are really thin that you can buy. So that's how you do that. There are other kinds of felting. This is needle felting that I specialize in, but there's also wet felting where you don't necessarily use a needle, but you use soapy water. I don't do that. That's a whole different set of tools. So if you're interested in that, I can tell you where to find more information, but I'm not the person to ask for that stuff. There's also a whole bunch of other different techniques, and you can learn all about that on my website as well, needlefeltedfuzzies.com. Other than that, I pretty much went over everything I wanted to, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you've watched all the way to the end, type raccoon in the comments, and who knows, maybe you will receive a tiny little fox tato. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.